wetlands, water, wildlife, and oil. Until April 20th, industry and wildlife hung in delicate balance. But when the Deepwater Horizon drilling rig exploded, the scales tragically tipped. 11 workers were killed, and millions of gallons of raw crude oil began gushing into the Gulf of Mexico. The BP oil spill has become one of America's worst environmental disasters ever. I'm National Wildlife Federation naturalist David Mizejewski. Shortly after disaster struck, we quickly dispatched a team of experts to the Gulf Coast to assess the damage and help alert Americans to the danger.
My name is Maura Wood.
My name is Juanita Constable.
This is Miles Grant with the National Wildlife Federation. I am here on the oil slick.
My name is Ben Weber. I'm with the National Wildlife Federation. I'm based out of our Baton Rouge office where we're focused on coastal Louisiana restoration.
Hi, I'm Larry Schwager and I'm President and CEO of the National Wildlife Federation. And when I heard about the BP oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, I dropped all the things that I was doing in Washington and elsewhere and turned my attention to this great region.
We help bring the story to American living rooms by sharing first-hand accounts of the damage on CNN, MSNBC, ABC, and NBC.
One of the problems with this ecosystem, it's not healthy. It's not, at its most resilient.
National Wildlife Federation is the search and rescue for the wildlife operations, and we're also really focusing on restoring the coastal Louisiana wetland habitats that both the wildlife and the people of the entire Gulf rely on.
As you just mentioned, this is a wildlife crisis, and we can't stand around letting BP and the government try to do all this on their own. National Wildlife Federation's been working for years in the Gulf with our partners, trying to restore the dwindling wetlands that are so important to those birds and the other marine life in the Gulf.
Our team has spent hours each day floating amongst the hazardous sludge, searching the shore and witnessing the impacts to wildlife firsthand.
This spill is unbelievably shocking and infuriating and heartbreaking all at the same time. It's real, it's present, and it's going to have long-term devastating effects.
Here we are, we're in the elbow between the Mississippi Delta and the coastline of Mississippi, about 15 miles from shore.
You're looking at all this wildlife and thinking how beautiful they are, and then you're thinking at the same time you're wondering if they're going to make it. And so it's really kind of emotional to see it.
Well, we weren't sure whether to rescue this baby turtle or leave him be. We decided to make the call to rescue.
We've even felt firsthand what wildlife now face.
So if you're wildlife and this oil sludge gets on top of you, you're going to try to get it off. Man, it isn't going anywhere. Oh, and it's sticky as can be. Look at this all. Look at that.
It takes two people to clean these pelicates off. One person to actually do the washing, and the other person to restrain the bird, which is struggling and fighting because this, the cleaning process is as unnatural to it as being oiled is. The animals don't know that we're trying to help them, so it's stressful all around. It's stressful for me to be watching this.
The surface of the water has to breathe just like we do in order to get oxygen down into the water column, and now we can see for acres and miles that this water is smothered with oil.
National Wildlife Federation has called on the federal government to step in and do what BP hasn't. Take responsibility and fully disclose the impacts to wildlife, the local communities, and an enormous swath of the Gulf of Mexico.
The Gulf of Mexico is a crime scene and the perpetrator cannot be left to be in charge of assessing the damage or controlling the data that flows to the public.
Who knows how many waves of oil this particular island will experience. It's kind of been like a slow motion train wreck.
Even before the oil spill, Louisiana was experiencing extraordinary challenges in the coastal area. We've lost around 2,300 square miles of coastal wetlands in our state, which, to put it in comparison, it's roughly the size of Rhode Island or the size of Delaware, just disappearing.
For the last 10 years, National Wildlife Federation has had a team working to restore and protect the coastal wetlands of Louisiana from disappearing. Now, all that work and progress is at risk. Every day, more and more oil spoils more and more of the nation's most valuable waters and wetlands.
Our estuary in coastal Louisiana is believed to play a critical role and the lives of over 90% of the marine species that live in the Gulf of Mexico.
But it is critical that we're in the nesting season here. And we do know that eggs, even a single drop of oil, can kill the embryos that are in the eggs. It's a difficult challenge here, but it's a challenge that we have to do everything we can to meet because this is an important nesting colony.
Ultimately, people and nature will continue to pay the price as the oil industry continues to rake in record profits.
But this marshland here, this is the heart of Louisiana, or I should say the Gulf. And maybe somebody's gonna have a wake-up call and see what needs to be done.
It's clear that when you have these vast wetland systems and other fragile places, you can't just expect that you're not going to have oil spills. And that's what we've been doing. We've been believing that we could do this without damaging these systems, and that's not true.
Folks settled in coastal Louisiana because of the incredible resources here, the fisheries, the energy, because of its accessibility to the other states through maritime commerce, the Mississippi River, the access to the Gulf. And so people moved here, lived here because of the geography, because of the natural resources. And because of the destruction of our coastal wetlands, it really is threatening our primary way of life here, just this why folks lived, why folks settled in Louisiana.
If you haven't already, please join us in protecting the Gulf Coast's wildlife and moving towards a new energy future. Learn more at nwf.org/oilspill.